Actually, one suggestion that I do have, and this is like a 7K support thing that even like 6K support 5-roll supports don't do. So what's the point in really being up here at level 1?
There is none.
You got 2 runes anyway, right? Like this shit is impossible to play against up here. So why not go bot, kill somebody at this rune, kill again, and then TP top after the lane shoves out? Because what do you do here to help the alchemist on the first wave? All he's going to do is pull the creeps into the tower and farm anyway. So why not give him a free level 2? You know, you're actually soaking experience up here. If you watch like 90% of 7K 5-roll players, they almost always start as a tri-lane for like 10-20 seconds. And then they TP after this lane is shoved out. You have to abuse the fact that this equilibrium is pushed up so far.
I would say as a 4, you should be focusing on like having a good game yourself and fighting and like running, like roaming basically. But as a 5, basically like the whole idea behind the 5-roll is that you want to do whatever you can to like support your carry until the carry can solo lane against whoever it is there. If you can't do that because it's a losing lane, then you want to just support that lane until your carry eventually can't lane and he goes and jungles, and then that's when you take the lane. So in both of those scenarios, you're not stack pulling anything like that. Where you want to stack to pull is like in order to win the lane, in order to get something out of the lane. And for stacking, I would really say that stacking is like should probably be doing something else, and the stacking just happens because you're in the area. I would say that this is not a patch where you want to like run off and stack for the most part, unless it's after your carry has already won the lane and there's nothing else for you to do.
If you truly feel like you can do nothing except for basically just like leech experience and maybe heal your core with like your own regeneration items, then you should, number one, I would say, look to see if you can create space for him by pressuring somewhere else on the map. So if you see a very vulnerable safe lane carry on the other side, or a mid, like Jenkins was talking about with SF and Pudge, then just leave your carry in a one-on-one to just be like, hey man, play safe, I'm going to go pressure somebody else. And that is better than just sitting there and like, you know, right-clicking a hero that has 6 HP regeneration when you do no damage and splitting the experience that you're getting with your carry, because that will ruin their game super hard.
People are winning and losing lanes at literal random, because at this MMR, nobody really thinks about matchups. But the way that you can win the lane every time, no matter what the matchup is by controlling the pulls and by controlling the equilibrium and abusing the fact that you have 3 heroes. Those are reliable things. This lane needs to be pulled back. You are a tri-lane. This lane needs to be pulled back, so that way you can abuse the fact that you are 3 heroes and zone them here. And then when it pushes out, you pull it back again, and you slowly gain an XP lead. And then all of a sudden, when I ask the same question, who wins? A level 3 Lion, a level 3 Wraith King, a level 3 Wind Ranger versus a level 2 PL and a level 2 Ogre? Well, that's fucking obvious, isn't it? That's fucking obvious. If only there was a way. If only there was a way to guarantee that you knew the answer to that question. And there is.
How do you guarantee that? It's so hard.
You use the pull.
You can just pull.
Vision is the single easiest way to win games as a support. If there's one thing I've noticed that nobody does in Ancient Bracket and below, it is to buy a lot of sentries. The only time people will ever buy sentries is if they know for 100% certain that they're going to get a D-ward with it. However, if you're playing support, especially position 5, you need to be buying 25 to 30 sentries every single game, even if you're facing very little or no invisibility on the other team. The reason is extremely simple. The team with more information will inevitably play better Dota than the team without it. Every single time you make a move to a dark location on the map, it is imperative that you do your best to remove any vision the enemy team might have left there. Every single time you get aggressive anywhere on the map, it is imperative that you remove any vision the enemy team might have left there. I think that if you're not rotating as the 5 at the 5-minute mark, then you're making a mistake. You're not playing the position correctly. You should pretty much always leave the safe lane, at least briefly, around the 5-minute mark to try and both secure bounty runes and also get a mid ward for your mid laner, and also potentially try and kill their mid laner with your 5 rotating in. I think that that's like a really, really underrated
I do that
option.
in every single game, dude.
Super good.
I ward the safe lane, the shrine, mid, and gank mid at the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, you should basically do that every game.
It's really good, yeah.
Get used to what the aggro range is. Once you do this, you'll be able to abuse the ability to trigger an attack command from outside of the aggro range, whereby your hero will be able to attack the enemy without repercussions for one attack. If you are a hero with long attack range, you should literally never aggro an enemy creep. And if you're a melee hero, you should do your best to bully the laner before the first 2 creep waves meet and start triggering hero aggro. After that first wave, position your body threateningly, but not actually right-clicking the enemy hero. If they're getting kind of low, then they will often back off, and sometimes it's honestly just worth it to tank a bunch of damage that would otherwise go to your carry. If you're an ogre, for example, you have a ton of armor and HP regen, and if you're laning with a Slark, you're happy to eat a bunch of ranged hero harass and allow your Slark to freely farm without any pressure.
If you're sitting bot and holding the lane with Stroke of Fate and getting the occasional last hit and just holding the tower that's meant to go down for the enemy team, you're going to be out farming them. So why try to get more? Why try to walk up and last hit? Why be greedy? Just do your job and just your job in Dota, and you're going to win. Sit in the fucking trees, be a little bitch, and hold the lane while your Void jungles. Now, your Void is getting dove, your Dark Willow had to TP because you died down here, so your Void had to come and you TP top, and now Axe is left alone when he's your hero that's supposed to be pressuring, and the whole map is ruined. I mean, obviously the mistakes are on the other players as well, but who gives a fuck about them? They're not you.
I mean, you're a 5. You don't care about your farm. You care about levels. So you should just sit there and
this year. So be in the trees right now. You're last hitting. This is really fucking greedy. You want to just go in the trees, fort the tower to protect it, and use the Stroke of Fate just to push out the wave. It does a lot of damage. And then if they're hunting you in the trees, that's fine. You can go in here, tango through here, or just juke them and waste a lot more of their time and possibly even kill them with a rotation.
Do not attack the enemy heroes while you are standing in your own creep wave, ever. This is something that you should be able to avoid in 99% of scenarios, and here's why it's such a big problem. If you attack the enemy hero while you are standing in the creep wave, you will aggro all of the creeps on the enemy side to you immediately. This means that your creeps are now damaging them, but they are not damaging your creeps, and this means that your wave is going to push, which means that your carry is going to have to play in a more dangerous position, which means that it's going to be harder to harass the enemy team, and you're going to probably have to leave your carry alone to go pull the wave and reset the creep equilibrium. Additionally, you're going to probably mess up some last hits for your carry because the enemy creeps are all running around willy-nilly, and you're just straight up taking a bad trade because you're tanking a bunch of extra damage from the creeps while trading hits with the enemy heroes. Every single laning stage must come to an end, and usually the person that moves first has the advantage of initiative. Dictating the pace of the game is one of the easiest ways for supports to drastically increase their impact in pubs. If you've been supporting the lane correctly, you should have gained a level or 2 advantage for your carry before the 5-minute mark. Bounties spawn at 5 minutes, and if you have gained this advantage, now is a great time to move around the map. Find a vulnerable target on the other team, and go win a second lane for your team with a well-timed gank. Drop a ward that will spot rotations to your safe lane by the enemy supports or mid and make your move. Ideally, you want to keep your TP off of cooldown to be able to respond if the enemy team targets your carry in response to your move. But if your carry has already taken the enemy tower or retreated to the jungle, you can safely move to the opposite side lane even and pressure there if that is the correct place to be.